guys, I've got a treat for you today. We've got the super rare 1988 Alpha Azieru by Bandai. This kit's been out of print forever. It's super hard to find. I happened to find one in a thrift store here in Japan. And yeah, we're going to do an unboxing. We're going to do a snap build. We're going to do everything and talk about this kit. I have a feeling it's going to be really, really cool. So what do you say we get right into it and open it up? Alright, so opening this up here, and we've got our runner bags. Okay, real quick, the runners are quite straightforward. You've got two tan runners here, one gray runner with the stand, and then you've got one small runner of polycaps. You've also got these stickers, which I'm not going to be using. You guys know I never use stickers, but the one that says Alpha Azieru is actually kind of cool looking. I don't know, maybe there's a fun way to integrate that, but otherwise I'm going to see if I can find any water slide decals that are going to make this work for me. And on the sides of the box, you've got these really nice painted up shots of the kit in a few different poses. Here you've got the back of the kit, which looks quite nice. And on the other side of the box, you've got one of it transformed, and then you've got another shot of the front of the kit there. So really cool overall. So looking at the manual here, you've got this nice painted up shot on the left hand side, and then in the fashion of really old Gundam manuals from the 80s, you have an example of the colors of the kit here painted up on the runners themselves, which I always think is kind of fun. And yeah, let's open this up. Wow, so this is interesting. You've got this in full color, which you really seldom see, like a mechanical diagram explaining how a kit works from the 80s especially, in full color, so that's kind of cool. You can see this kit does transform. It has these two forms, one here and the other here. You've got some shots from the anime, which is cool. And then this is an interesting, it's a vertical presentation, and yeah, that's pretty much it. On the back, this is really nice. So on the back here, you've got this really nice mechanical diagram, as well as this side shot illustration, which is a really pretty illustration if you look at it up close. And then you've got some details of different components of the mobile armor, which all look really, really nice. And yeah, that pretty much does it for the manual. It's a really simple but quite nice manual with some good inspiration shots to get you going for the build. Okay, one last thing before we get into the review. I did want to take a quick sec just to highlight this amazing painting on the front of the box by Kenichi Ishibashi. It's just really an awesome painting with the new Gundam there, and then in the top left you've got this cool portrait of the new Gundam, and then obviously the mobile armor itself. But yeah, really, really just gorgeous work there. Okay, so finally getting into the review. Here you have the kit in its basic pose, and it really looks amazing. I'm super impressed with this, especially being from 1988. The part separation is really, really nice. So although I wouldn't say the color separation is amazing, they could have had a few more colors, of course, the part separation is amazing, which is great because it's going to be really quite easy to go in yourself and paint in those colors that you want. For example, all of those funnels on the back are separate pieces. I think we could have easily had a situation where that was all just one piece and you would have had to mask them. The arms have a lot of articulation and movement in multiple pieces. The same goes for the head, although actually the head is a bit tricky because it is one piece. I'll show you a detail in a second. But the turrets, the way the fuel tanks move, the claws, all of this stuff, it can really be broken down quite easily into multiple pieces. These little thrusters on the back there, and it's going to make painting this really pretty fun, I think. Of course, there are a few Seam lines, as always with big fuel tanks, you've got those seam lines there. Those are my least favorite. I find them the most troublesome to fill, but I think the way they're done on this, I don't know, I might play around with actually adding an extra panel line there instead of trying to clean it up. The biggest one that I will say is an issue is this one on the top here. If I push this back, you can see this section is cut out as a separate piece, and I think it'll be okay. It might be a little tricky just because of all the curves. And then other than that, you've got, of course, these seam lines across the shoulders. The big one, like I said, is the head, which is split vertically down the middle. It's not the end of the world. It's nothing we haven't seen before, but it's going to be a little annoying. One cool thing about the head is all of these little, I guess, fins or antennas that pop up are separate pieces. So if you wanted to do those in a separate color, it's going to be really easy to do that. So yeah, this is like the main pose of the kit, but I'm going to go ahead and transform it into its other form so you can see how that looks. Real quick before we do that, just going to call out the new Gundam figure. I think it's fine. I think the pose is a bit dorky. I don't understand why when they make these minifigures, they make them in such a stiff, just this awkward, rigid standing pose. I would much rather have had something a little bit more dynamic, maybe with the legs turned or slightly bent or just something going on. But other than that, the detail on the mini new Gundam is actually pretty decent, and it stands up pretty well. But yeah, I just think the pose is a bit dorky, so I probably won't use it in my final diorama build that I'm planning for this. That said, let's get into the other pose, and then we'll talk a little bit about articulation. So here you have the kit in flight mode as it would be if it had landed on the surface. I think it looks okay. I'm not really impressed with it. I don't think I would ever really display it this way, especially on the ground. I think the flight mode is okay, but I would much rather have it on the stand. So why don't we just pop it on the stand real quick so you guys can see what that looks like. So here is the kit in flight mode when you've got it up on a base. I think it looks a lot better like this, especially when you start to look at this kind of 3/4 angle, like right here. I think it looks pretty cool. And you've got these talons below that you can really see now. Yeah, this is a really cool pose for the kit. I think if you want to pose it like this, you're going to have a really nice time. I'm probably going to pose it with the arms down and the head out because I think it just has a little bit more visual impact that way. But this pose is not bad at all for the kit. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about the different poses. Now we can go ahead and just look at the articulation because I was pretty impressed by some of it, especially for a kit of this age. Okay, so starting off with articulation, I'm going to start with these turrets. And you can spin these around, they go full 360, and what's really cool is these little cannons are all individual parts, and you can move them individually with the exception of the top two, which are one piece. So you can, yeah, have fun moving those around. While we're here, I can talk about the arm. So the arm it just spins all over the place, moves up, it can go inside. The hand moves a little bit too. Really just, yeah, a lot of articulation there. The shoulder also moves up and down and spins around a little bit. The skirt armor is pretty basic, but it does move a little bit like this. And you've got these talons underneath here, and they open up. And you can move those around and pose them. They open up quite a bit. For these fuel tanks, you can move them, you know, back and forth. I do wish they were on ball joints so you could move them width-wise. You can actually get some bend to them, but it's really not the way the piece is designed to be moved, so you have to be careful so you don't break anything, but I prefer them like a little bit wider out. I think it looks a bit cooler, but they do move. Okay, so the head, this is one part that really impressed me quite a bit for a kid of this age. So of course there's this piece, which this hood that kind of comes up and goes over for the flight mode. But then when you're not in flight mode and you pop it up there, the head can pop out like that. and it can spin around and look around, and it can also go in and kind of hide. I just thought that was cool. Even when it's inside, like more inside, you still get tilt. Well, I just popped it off there, but as you can see, you just get a lot of movement with that head, and I think it's quite cool. And then one more minor thing would be this thruster here. That thruster bell does move, as do these ones. They all move from side to side a little bit. And that's pretty much it for articulation. Alright, that's going to pretty much do it for this review. Guys, what did you think? Please leave a comment below and tell me, did you think this kit was cool? Did it meet your expectations or surpass them, or is it way worse than you thought it would be? I think for the age of this kit, it's really, really impressive with the articulation and the part separation. And I'm really excited to detail it up, maybe add some builder's parts to the undersides where there's some hollow areas. I think that's going to make it look really quite cool. So yeah, guys, as always, really appreciate you watching to the end. If you could hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, maybe even hit the bell icon too, that would be super awesome and really help the channel. And yeah, as always, thank you guys and appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Okay, bye.